I'm Mary Obana. Welcome to Shine. I'm all about friendly, soul-nourishing, spiritually inspired conversations that expand perspectives and offer practical guidance so you can live joyfully and shine brightly. I believe everyone has something special within them, a unique gift, a light you are to find and share with the world. You are meant to shine. I believe you have a deep knowing, guidance that is ready to serve you. It is always available if you listen. I believe you are meant to live with complete joy and peace, nothing less. It's just awaiting your allowing. Ready to get to it? Here we go. Hey there. Thanks for being here. I'm so glad you've tuned in today. I wanted to start by saying thank you. I'm always touched by the messages I receive about how an episode seemed to hit you at just the right moment, helping you or a loved one work through something, giving you a way to think about one of life's inevitable circumstances. To know that it's helped, that it's made a difference, means the world to me. My favorite way to discover things is through recommendations. Friends who share something that they think I'd enjoy or benefit from in some way. With so many choices out there, I so appreciate when friends share their favorites with me, whether it's a book they just read, a Netflix series they couldn't stop watching, a restaurant they discovered, a recipe they return to time and time again, or a podcast they love. There's nothing like a curated collection of favorites. If there's someone in your life that can benefit from this podcast, please share it with them. Then I think, what about the others who we don't know, who could use that same support, who could benefit from these messages in some way too? That's why your ratings and reviews, subscribing and listening to this podcast is so important. These are the key factors Apple, Spotify, Google, and others use so people can find it more easily. There's nothing that would make me happier than to know Shine is reaching those that need it most. Thank you all so much for all of your support. Okay, so let's get into the episode. The subjects I cover on this podcast, I know are divinely inspired, reflecting what we may be going through at one time or another, our shared human experience. They're messages that come to me that I know I'm meant to deliver. I believe, and you've heard me say this time and time again, that we are meant to have a complete joy and peace, and that we're meant to love and connect with one another, that we aren't meant to struggle. How do we make way for all the unfolding of all of this, though? Well, I can share with you that there's one surefire way that can help you get there. And without it, it can be nearly impossible to reach. Today, we're going to dive into acceptance. Yep, acceptance. Accepting what is and the acceptance of ourselves and others. So let's tackle the first of these, accepting what is. Acceptance is often misunderstood. So let's get into what it is and, importantly, what it is not. Acceptance is the action of receiving what has been offered. Acceptance does not mean tolerating something wrong, putting up with bad behavior, or sitting idly by while harm or injustices are being committed. Acceptance does not mean apathy or necessarily even liking, wanting, or supporting what's in front of you. Acceptance is a conscious decision to recognize the reality of the moment, accepting that which is, because resisting or rejecting what is creates more suffering. The suffering that comes from locking in to feelings of regret, frustration, guilt, unworthiness, anger, worry, and fear. When we don't like something, our reaction is to resist. Who wants to welcome something unwanted, right? But the sneaky thing about resistance is that it actually makes things more difficult for us. Resistance, by its very definition, is a refusal to accept. It's any thought, belief, or behavior that stands in the way of what is, and crazy as it may sound, what we truly want. Resistance is hanging on to what is not, rather than seeing in plain sight what is. Acceptance is living within the reality of what is. When it comes to facing the moment, resistance fills your being with the energy of againstness, trying to reject, trying to reverse, trying to make that which is not. But that which is always is. There's no getting around it. Acceptance is facing reality. Again, this doesn't mean you have to like what's in front of you, but there's a different energy that comes from resisting that which is versus accepting that which is. Because through acceptance, there's living. Through acceptance, there's an ability to move forward, to make space for you to do the best with the circumstance that's in front of you. Resistance is like a trap. It puts on the brakes, raises walls, and prevents you from moving forward. It's usually at the heart of feeling stuck. The energy of resistance is negative. Acceptance is a purely different energy, a higher vibrating form of energy. Life ebbs and flows with challenges and joy, struggle and delight, and everything in between. Acceptance requires not resisting that which is in front of you, pretending that it's not. Acceptance creates space to move forward, open to what is to come. It's letting go of all the expectations of the moment. Acceptance is about living through the moment and addressing what must be addressed, whatever that might be. Okay, let's say something has happened with a loved one. Maybe they've come with shocking news, or maybe a situation has thrown you for a loop. Let's say the situation has left you angry, worried, hurt, sad, in disbelief, overwhelmed. And by the way, legitimately so. This isn't your imagination or a misinterpretation. This is happening. So what do? You can replay it in your mind again and again, how wrong all of this is. You can immerse yourself in the injustice. Why is this happening to my family or me? Hours, days, weeks, or even years can pass, and hurt can turn into bitterness, worry into anxiety, leaving you feeling absolutely helpless, stuck, with a lack of control. Maybe you live in denial, hoping this will pass, but it doesn't. You stay trapped where you've always been. This is resistance in action, a refusal to accept. You can feel it, can't you? The low vibrating force of negative energy. So what's your alternative? To accept the reality of what is and to take back the control. To engage in the reality of the situation, as unfortunate or as undesirable as it may be, so we can learn from it and strengthen our ability to move forward. Resistance prolongs the pain, the negativity, the struggle. You can't change anything from a position of resistance. Acceptance opens the door for possibilities. It diverts the energy trapped in stagnant negativity and creates space to channel it instead to positive change. The point is, through acceptance comes choice. You always have a choice of how to meet the circumstance of the moment. Acceptance is about accepting the moment and permitting yourself to feel the way you feel, just to be. Allow yourself to feel disappointment or frustration if that's what you're feeling. Accepting what is, whatever that might be, wanted or unwanted, empowers you then to address it. There's a different energy around resisting what is and accepting what is. Addressing the way you feel, accepting the way you feel, and then moving forward. Acceptance comes with authority. Resistance does not. Acceptance opens the door to living. Acceptance is about living through, allowing the experience to flow through, to be what it is. There's peace in acceptance. And so there's a gift in that. Okay, now let's talk about acceptance of ourselves and others. When it comes to acceptance of people, ourselves included, this means accepting all aspects of ourselves and others unconditionally, free of any qualifications, without judgment. And as with most things, it all starts with us, self-acceptance. It's said that it isn't until the age of 8 that we are able to formulate a clear sense of self. So we rely until then exclusively on the messages we receive from our parents or those surrounding us to give us a sense of who we are. So we learn about ourselves through others in those years. If we were made to feel predominantly positive about ourselves, that helps a whole bunch. If we felt our every move was judged, then we might tend to accept ourselves more conditionally. And goodness knows, no one is harder on us than ourselves. We can be critical, particularly around our triggers, judging ourselves harshly at times, whether it's about our appearance or how well we parent or our accomplishments, our struggle to balance work and family, whatever it is. We tend to treat others with a whole lot more kindness and compassion than ourselves. To become more accepting, it's about being more compassionate with ourselves. We do the best we can under our circumstances. That's all we can ever do. We have to let go of all the guilt and self-criticism based on hindsight, standards that simply didn't reflect what we then understood or could realistically be expected of us at the time. We can be pretty good at punishing ourselves, living, dwelling, being stuck in the negativity. It doesn't serve us or anyone we love. Self-acceptance isn't about self-improvement. It's just accepting what is, who we are. If we focus on all we need to change about ourselves, it's hard to accept who we are because we're only focused on what's wrong and what we need to fix. Self-acceptance is entirely about this moment, right now, accepting yourself exactly as you are and respecting that, and finding a way to be grateful for that so that we can love ourselves just as we are. This doesn't mean that we scrap our desire for continued growth. It just means that accepting who we are isn't dependent on growth. It isn't contingent on a change of some kind. Like once I lose weight, once I make X dollars, or whatever we've convinced ourselves is essential to our self-worth. It doesn't require us to do anything or be anything different to accept ourselves for who we are, as we are, at any moment. It requires only that we see ourselves with kindness, love, and compassion. Complete acceptance. It's the ultimate gesture of love, complete, unconditional acceptance, isn't it? This brings me to the acceptance of others. It's hard to imagine anything anyone wants more than to be seen and accepted. Love is accepting another as they are. It's easy to accept others who share the same thoughts and perspectives, who feel, believe, and behave just like we do or how we want them to. But genuine love and connectedness run far deeper. The greatest connectedness is when we feel that another loves us with all of our quirks and imperfections, irrespective of our differences. It's when we can accept another without judgment, without condition, accepting them for who they are as they are, not for who we want them to be. In what ways do you wish that others were different? People you work with? Politicians? That driver that just cut you off? What about people who are close to you? Friends, family members, partners? The quest to live a more positive life starts with the acceptance of others. With so much dissonance all around us these days, it can be more challenging than ever. It seems everyone is arguing over one thing or another. With the nonstop news cycles and social media channels, it's a constant barrage of opinions and positions that only seem to get everyone more deeply entrenched and ingrained in their views and perceived rightness. And rightness is a package deal because it comes with perceiving others to be wrong. And when we make someone else wrong, we hold the energy of needing to correct, convince, control, or change them. There's destructive energy associated with the feeling that you are right. So much duality, dissonance, opposition, polarization, so much ideological labeling. us versus them, so quick to plop someone into a pile and think we know everything about them, creating walls that separate all of us from one another. We get caught in the trap of thinking our way is the best way, and when others disagree with us, it's easy to be critical and judgmental. We all want to be accepting, but sometimes it can be really challenging. And the deceiving thing about it is that we often think or convince ourselves that the change we want in another, especially those closest to us, is for them, that it's in their best interest. But is it? That we're operating out of love. But are we? Acceptance is honoring another without judgment or criticism and giving others the space to determine what's best for them. Make right to be what's right for you. It isn't our place to judge what's right for anyone else. We can never know entirely what's going on in another's heart, despite how well we might know them. And though it may not be the choices we would make, our job is to live in alignment with our truth, shine our light, and love genuinely, and to allow others to do the same. Let's try to look past the ideology and into our hearts to find true acceptance of others. This doesn't mean that the beliefs we hold to be true are not important to us. Of course they are. It means when it comes to the quest for a more positive, enlightened life, we are to look beyond, beneath, and into the heart and soul of another human being, accepting them for who they are rather than conditionally. If you agree with them, if they wear the right clothes, if they adhere to certain social norms, if they share the same political view, if they do what you have deemed is the right thing. This is not why we're here. We are spiritual beings here to have a human experience, seeking connections to one another, living in love. Beneath all the ideology is shared humanity. As human beings, we want and need love and connectedness. Judgment is like a wall separating us from each other, judging another as being less informed, less wise, less rational, naive. All of these thoughts are created by the ego, comparing others to some perceived acceptable norm. Our connection to one another, genuine acceptance, is when we operate from compassion, love, and kindness, the highest attributes of all. It requires an elevated level of consciousness to accept another with thoughts different from your own, to see beyond the thoughts. Opinions on a matter are a cerebral pursuit. Love, true love, doesn't come from the mind. It comes from the heart. It comes from the soul. Are you a lover of others, or do you condition your acceptance of another on shared principles alone? Acceptance without judgment, connecting to another more profoundly, is what will be necessary to move from a dualistic world to one that is unified. We are to look beyond, to not attach a condition to our acceptance of another. If we dig more deeply, connections will always be found. Are you accepting? Truly accepting? Again, acceptance doesn't require agreement on matters. It only requires seeking to see beyond it. You know the feeling when someone genuinely, earnestly, truly accepts you for who you are, as you are, looking beyond the differences and embracing the love that is, seeing you for the person beneath the opinions, the lifestyle choices, the habits, or even the quirky behavior. The humanity, the soul, the love, and the compassion that exists within all of us. There's nothing more beautiful, no greater expression of love. Acceptance is the act of receiving what has been offered. Acceptance is a conscious decision to recognize the reality of the moment, accepting that which is. Self-acceptance is accepting who we are right now. It doesn't require us to do anything or be anything different to accept ourselves as we are. It requires only that we see ourselves with kindness, love, and compassion. Acceptance of others is accepting another without judgment, without condition, accepting them for who they are as they are, not for who you would like them to be. Acceptance is a practice. It's a conscious act. It's receiving the reality of what is in that moment and moving forward with awareness and deliberate intention, with compassion for self and for others. In my own spiritual journey, acceptance has meant taking down the wall, letting go of all the resistance, ending the skepticism, and living in the moment without judgment. Acceptance has opened new pathways too, allowing me to receive the guidance that has now shaped my life, making way for growth and an ability to serve in ways I could never have imagined. Acceptance is a powerful thing. Letting go of the tight grip we can have on life and others, accepting what is, creates space for all the unfolding, for what is to come. It's amazing what's on the other side of acceptance, what can happen for all of us. Here's to acceptance and kindness, compassion and genuine love, and to shining, always. Thank you for joining me today, and please pass this along to someone you think can benefit from it. Until next time, take it easy.